Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. This is your first time tuning in. Welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice-a-week long-form podcast, you guys, because I want to put the right information out there by the people who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can apply, utilize, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many, many reasons why I proudly fly this American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. We got a guest on today. We got a guest on tomorrow. We got a guest on Wednesday. We got a lot of people coming on this week. And it's a good thing too, because I'm sure you guys are sick and tired of just seeing my face only on here. But as always, you guys, before we do anything further, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub. You guys, vhubapp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper, we all need access to a trailer. And the best part, you get paid to move these trailers, you guys. That's right. That's on top of the revenue that you can get by loading these trailers out. So what they're working on right now, you guys, is they got Staunton, Wisconsin, heading over to Milton, Ontario, and you get $525 US per trailer on that. You guys, they got like 100 trailers left over there. They also have a bunch out in Ron Burgundy's hometown of San Diego, California, going all over the place, you guys, and they range between $1,100 and $2,200 per trailer. They're going out to New York, Texas, Mass, New Hampshire, Arkansas, Ohio, Michigan. Ken Adamo's favorite school is Michigan Wolverines. They're going there, you guys. And then again, they're going all over the place. Between $1,100 and $2,200 per trailer. And then finally, they got Paragould, Arkansas, going up to Mississauga, Ontario, and you get $736 US, you guys. So look into this, you guys. This is a way for you to create a drop trailer pool, to create an enterprise level sales solution for those customers out there that you can't necessarily get the door in with as a broker. So hit them up, vhubapp.com. My name is Zach Lonergan and Stacy Steen. They'll be in the audience. Just do me a favor. Let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Tracy St. Clair watching over on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in, Tracy. Oh, there's Ken. Checking it out to hear from my favorite two Big Ten bottom dwellers. Oh, Ken, I love it. That's funny. Ken is a delusional Ohio State fan who, doesn't know that there's other teams that exist. April Maroney, good morning. Hope you had a great weekend as well. Sonny Sharma, you are correct. Hotter than fuck Monday. It is like legitimately 114 plus every single day here for the next week. But that's what we do here in the desert. Nick Sanders, let's go. Good morning. Tiffany Davenport, good morning. Joe D'Angelo, what is up? He says, what's up, armchair attorney? He'll be on here in a second. Rob Milton, good morning. Who's ready to hustle some freight? Veronica Sanchez, good morning. Zena, good morning. Happy Monday. All right, I'm going to bring my guest on. I've been trying to catch him. I see he keeps picking up his phone, so I've been trying to catch him off guard. I got the armchair attorney, a.k.a. Matt Leffler, back on. What's up, dude?
It's good to be here, Chris. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
No, I'm doing great, man. It's, Matt and I, we don't get to talk as much as we used to talk because Matt's got like 75 kids. He's got, he doesn't have 75, but if you follow Matt, you see his twins journey out there. And yeah, man, dude, things have been going well. The media stuff is growing nonstop. The downloads are growing. Everything's growing. I onboarded new advertisers. I'm going to be releasing some information here soon. I mean, green screens.
Yeah, they're right there. I see them.
They're up there, dude. And what's cool about that one, Matt, is I legitimately use them inside of my brokerage. Legitimately am using them to price out freight, and seeing the increase in business that we've won with them is it's insane. So it's being able to build all of this out, and then you find partners that you also use inside of your business as well. And it's just, dude, where things were when I first started to where things are now, I couldn't have imagined that it would be where it is. And then just knowing we haven't even scratched the surface of everything is the most exciting part.
Absolutely. The technology continues to solve the problems that have always been here. I fundamentally believe there are no new problems. There are just new technologies that help us solve old problems. Finding profitable freight is not easy. Green screen certainly can help you do that.
Oh, you're so right with the problems thing. Like it's all the same. It's just like a different iteration of its version of itself. And it's just the same problem. It's just, hey, what let's just keep talking about problems and not fixing anything, because if we fix it, we don't have anything to talk about. And then, shit gets boring, right?
Well, look at it. Let's segue to our topic of Yellow. I mean, this is a company, Yellow, 1924. It was founded 1924. That was before the highway system. That was before containerization. That was before deregulation. This is crazy. A company has 100 years in supply chain experience, and yet it is on the cusp of bankruptcy. Fascinating company. Fascinating times.
Dude, it really is. And it's like everybody wants to, like it, again, the current leadership of Yellow is to blame because they're currently in the role. Unfortunately, like if you do a lot of research on this, you can see a pattern of bad behaviors, probably like from the research that I did on paper, starting back in like 1999. There was a bunch of acquisitions that were made based off of union and union only. It seems from the research that I've done is that they only bought a carrier because they were a union carrier and they wanted to strengthen their foothold in there. And then ironically, they're in the position that they're in today, kind of due to those decisions. So it's like, it's crazy to see a company evolve over time. And then like it's Jeff Dickinson brings up they've been on the cusp for decades. And it's like, and that's the crazy part about it is it's like the more and more research that you do on this situation is it's like they're in this position, like they can't sit there and say that it's just the union to blame because it's not. Anybody who listens to my show knows that I am not pro-union, like at all. But I can't sit here and say, and again, if I did say this in the early breakdowns of some of these articles of this, I'll eat crow. I like the more and more research that I've done. And I thought I did a good job pointing that out the last time I talked about it, but I'll point it out again. There was a series of shitty decisions that were made that led them to this position right now. But yeah, I'll let you go there. Sorry.
Well, I mean, the thing is like, keep in mind, like Yellow is not just Yellow. You're right. It's a combination of a whole bunch of things. Now it's like a Frankenstein's monster. But the other company that really is important in this discussion is Roadway, one of the most profitable unionized motor carriers has ever existed. And Roadway was acquired by Yellow in the early 2000s. So basically you had these three motor carriers that ran the world. Consolidated Freightways, CF, that's end up going bankrupt, but the people, they shut down right on Labor Day weekend. You had Yellow and you had Roadway. And those three really moved everything in this country. Deregulation happens 1980. Things start changing. So in the old days, in the 1980s, early 1980s, 60% of all truckers were unionized. 60%. Today, it's less than 10%. But you watch this company unfold, and they have been a survivor. People call them the cat of nine lives because every couple of years they're right on that moment of being bankrupt or being insolvent. And this time around, it could be the last time. And it hurts me because some of my best friends have come from those companies, CF or Yellow or Roadway. And I want that institution to survive, but it just, I don't think it can in this environment. We have ABF, they're making money as a unionized carrier. We have TFI, they're making money as a unionized carrier. But Roadway and Yellow Worldwide, or whatever they want to call themselves, they're not able to do that. And it's disappointing. It's sad to see.
Yeah, they got a big note that's going to be due here soon.
That's right.
To the tune of at least $1 billion, if not more.
Next year, $1.3 billion next year. $1.3 billion is due next year. It's crazy.
And that's why, and if maybe it was me and you texting with each other, Matt, or maybe I said it on the show. I can't remember. I fucking say a lot of things, but I personally feel that they're going to be acquired for pennies on the dollar here soon. I truly do. I don't see how this ends well for either party, right? Like I truly don't, because frankly, if I was a non-unionized LTL carrier right now, I would be fucking hammering everybody. And I would use the UPS scenario and the Yellow scenario as a prime example about why your service levels are never at risk of being shut down because you guys call your own shots. And if you want to, like, again, I try not to put my tinfoil hat on all that often on here, but if you want you know, because I see Papa Bear in a chair here says not pro-union question mark. No, I'm not pro-union at all. I'm not against
truck driver. I'm pro truck driver. I'm pro mechanic, and I'm pro dock worker.
I'm pro worker getting fair compensation. I'll say that. I don't think that they need a union rep to do that anymore because it's not 1920s, 1930s forced labor or anything like that. I think today's day and age with technology and information, any company who is operating that bad would be fucking squashed. Like in today's day and age, there's too much access to too much information. But I
love Ken Adamo's comment here, Chris. Could you toss that up on the screen?
Yeah. I learned most of what I know from ex-Redaway folks. When speaking about the Yellow merger, they would always say that spelling YRC in reverse would tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah, so the story of Yellow and Roadway is fascinating. So this deal gets done back in, I think, 2003 or 2004. Roadway is more profitable than Yellow. Roadway looks at buying Yellow, and they say, oh, if we buy Yellow, our stock gets destroyed because they're so different from us in terms of profitability. So then they spin around and Yellow buys Roadway. And to this day, over 20 years later, you can drive down the highway, and sometimes, if you're lucky, you see a Roadway trailer. This is incredible that this company made this deal. The two biggest players in the space combined. And as time goes, Yellow spent $1 billion 20 years ago to buy Roadway. And now, oh goodness, what's going to happen? I mean, the federal government today, we own 30% of Yellow because of the PPP loan that came out for them, $700 million. It's just crazy, man. It's crazy. This is a very remarkable time in our industry.
Yeah, no, it really is, man, because I personally think that, again, like I said, someone's going to come in and swoop them up for pennies on the dollars. I think it's going to be a distressed sale later this year. I think this is just pure speculation. I talk a lot of shit if you listen to this show, so you know this. But what I think is going to happen is they're going to call in their best friends in DC to negotiate, kind of like the rail or the ports last year, where DC stepped in and got them like a 90-day or 120-day extension, which is probably going to happen again because they're going to call on Papa Biden to come in and fix everything. And then when they do that, you're going to see is that they're going to come to a tentative agreement, and then they're going to be bought out for pennies on the dollar from one of these massive pro-union carriers, like you had mentioned, like a T-Force or whomever, ABF, whatever. They're going to buy Yellow for pennies on the dollar. This is just pure fucking speculation by me and the information that I've researched, but I feel like that's going to happen. And that's just my guess. I have no proof. I have no inside information. That's just what my gut's telling me based off of labor negotiations that have happened over the last couple of years with the unions.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think there's two ways this plays out. So last week, we learned that Yellow had some waivers given to them. So they have these contracts that are important for them. And what they are able to do with this waiver is to step back and get some breathing room. And this is the question, like Jeff is pointing out, like, what do you do next? What do you do next? You have $100 million cash. You have a $1.3 billion due next year, 1.5 all in is what you owe. And what are your options? What can you do? If you're like CF, you just shut down and you call it, you say, we're done. Let people figure out what to do in bankruptcy. There are people I think that could make a deal. So talking about like UPS Freight is a good example, or T-Force. So TFI has said, we want to do another big deal. We want to do a big deal. We know that TFI owns like 4% of ArcBest. So there's a real possibility that TFI is just looking to buy ABF and that's it. But this moment, this opportunity gives somebody a chance to buy a distressed business, probably get rid of a lot of the debt as they make this, probably get some government concessions to erase some of that $700 million they owe. And maybe there is a path. Maybe there's a path for survival. I hope that they do survive. I think that any company that's been around that long has something that they've done interesting, something worth doing. And if they can make it so that they can streamline the business, there is a path forward. Roadway is a great motor carrier, and Roadway still exists within Yellow. I think there's still something inside that monster that could be taken out.
I think, that they'll be around still. They'll be able to brand still. They'll just be under a parent company. I think you started to see a trend of that, Matt, this last year where it's like a lot. I think Warner Enterprises did this where they purchased a couple of carriers, but they were essentially the owner of them on paper, but they still operated independently of everything. So we'll see. Jeff Dickinson says what will happen if when over $1 billion of freight hits the market overnight. And that's what I think it'll be absorbed really quick. Even if I don't want this to happen, but even if Yellow absolved tomorrow, I think that it would be picked back up by its competitors very quickly.
Yeah, there is definitely capacity out there. I definitely think that.
Yeah, and Ken Adamos says it's not as likely that they'll get bought out of the bargain bin like you. Yeah, I would agree. It's not going to be like that. I just think that, in my opinion, they're going to be absolved fairly quickly. And Curtis Garrett says if they are arguably in a death spiral already from a customer, the additional media spotlight this time around will feel. Yeah, again, I think if you're non-union, and I talked about this, if you're a non-union provider right now and you're competing with any of these union carriers, that would be my absolute biggest fucking selling point. And that's across the board too, because it's like if you dig a little bit deeper, there's like 7 or 8 unions that are possibly going on strike across multiple industries here. It's not just trucking, it's rail, it's ports, it's airlines, it's fucking a lot.
We have UPS might be going into a process on August 1st.
So there's a ton of opportunity out there right now.
And the death spiral that Curtis mentioned, like this is also really important when people are starting to direct freight somewhere else. Like once it's directed elsewhere, it's really, really hard to bring it back. So if you're Yellow and you're talking to your stakeholder and saying, look, we will survive. We will be here in a month or 2 months or 3 months. I don't know if you believe them. And if you don't believe them as to be able to survive during the next phase, then doesn't matter what happens in the next couple of months. Yellow will be gone because there won't be any freight for them to move.
Isn't capitalism and the free market fucking beautiful?
You know, we play favorites with a lot of our things in this industry. So there's a lot of subsidies for all sorts of people. And Yellow was able to get a $700 million loan. Imagine this. They sell US Express for $800 million. They sell UPS Freight outright to TFI for $800 million. And yet we as the government give Yellow $700 million for only 30%. Like, it's madness. It's madness.
I know. Nick Sanders.
Holland's a great motor carrier.
Started off at Holland. They have too much debt, have a hard time investing in their infrastructure. The writing is on the wall about 15 years ago. They're still around because of government investment. Yeah. Josh has a great conversation. Yeah, dude, to me, it's just interesting. And you know, what's funny though, is as soon as you take a anti-union stance on any of your content, it's amazing how many people come out of the woodwork and start shitting all over you. I personally, it doesn't affect, I just think it's fucking funny how that, like, because to me, it's like, that's what I said. Out of all the shit that I've talked on the show, this is the stance that fucking riles you up.
What I would encourage everyone to do who's watching or listening to this now is if you have friends that have served with CF or Yellow or Roadway, talk to them about this. I mean, again, like what we think of as supply chain is really kind of focused in the last 5 or 10 years, but this entity, this thing has been around for 100 years. And what they've done, what they've encountered is really fascinating. And I see people all the time on their LinkedIn profile say, oh, I'm an ex-Uber person, I'm ex-Google, or I'm ex-Apple. In our business, ex-Yellow, ex-Roadway, ex-CF, like those are stories. That was hard. That was when trucking was really, really, really difficult. And it's still hard today, but if you go back in the Wayback Machine, it's fascinating to see what they actually had to do to profitably move freight safely, on time, and undamaged.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it, Curtis. He says unions are outdated. That's a nice way of putting it. Jeff Dickinson says TFI service levels suck from what I've seen. A huge consolidator who doesn't say the inner line and use normal published transit times, not just being honest. I believe in the First Amendment, Jeff. You can say whatever the fuck you want on my stuff. So Matt, let's transition a little bit here. Let's
do that. I'm excited. Where are we going? What are we talking about?
Like you're pretty passionate about non-competes. I know that kind of.
I do.
Or like what is there something else that maybe you want to bring up right now?
Well,
I don't know.
I will just mention for the folks who are eagerly waiting for non-competes to go away, it now appears. So the FTC put out a proposed rule. 20,000 people commented. Most of them, the vast majority, did not like non-competes. It looks like as early as maybe April of next year is when we'll see that final rule. So everybody who's been clamoring, waiting patiently for non-competes to go away, there's some time that will be spent waiting.
So wait a second. So when they reach out for public comment, that doesn't get resolved right away. It's going to take 4 or 5 years after they bring it up.
Well, it won't be 4 or 5. It'll be about a year after the closing of the comment period.
Matt, let's put a fucking friendly wager on it right now. Dinner the next time we're together. After it happens, my guess is this non-compete bullshit will not be resolved within the next 4 to 5 years.
Oh, it won't be. You've already won that.
Come on, you can't do that. You said a year and a half. God damn it.
So what will happen is You have to keep in mind, there are 30 million Americans that are bound by non-competition agreements. Basically, 1 in 5 working adults are bound by non-compete. These companies will have to provide, if the proposed rule were to go into effect, individualized notice, emails, phone calls, letters to people who are bound by non-competes, telling them, hey, remember that thing that you signed, or maybe you don't remember signing it? It's no longer valid. This is a massive interruption in every business that's across the country. And so the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and others have been fighting like you would not believe. The ATA is fighting like you would not believe to keep non-competes in place. The day a final rule is issued and these things go away and there's a period, they're going to sue and they're going to try to stop it. And they'll go all the way to the Supreme Court saying FTC does not have the authority to walk into private contracts between employers and employees and say, we don't like this, we're getting rid of it. So this is going to be a long process.
I think there's a lot of people who need to get made aware that a lot of these 3-letter agencies can't do shit about a lot of the stuff that they say that they can, because they can't write laws, you guys. Like, that's the fact. Like, you need to take this into consideration here. The only people who can write laws are who, Matt?
So let's be very clear here. Your authority to make a rule comes from the legislature. There's a law gets passed, the executive signs it, it creates an agency, and the agency's powers go as far as the legislature allows them. When it's gray or ambiguous, you go to the courts, and the courts say, you didn't have the authority. So what we see at our Supreme Court today is pulling away from what we might call the administrative states, like these agencies, and saying, you don't have that power. If you want that power, you have to come back. Remember, everyone watching, the OSHA debacle, when OSHA was trying to mandate vaccinations for every working American for companies that had over 100 people. The Supreme Court's like, yeah, dude, no, you don't have that power.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing to take into consideration. So when you see a lot, and the only reason I bring that up is you guys, is because when you see a lot of this shit come out, you need to understand that they don't actually have the power in most instances to do fucking anything.
They have the power. It just is, it's a gray line for how far that
they have the power to say what they want, but they don't have the power to fine anybody for not doing said thing.
I'll respectfully disagree, but I do love you, Chris. I do. These agencies are very, very powerful. It's just,
I'm not saying that they're not powerful. They just don't have, they just can't actually, they don't write laws. Like, right. They don't have that ability. That laws are written.
The rules that come out from an agency are as strong as a law. So they are treated like a law, like a rule that's enforced and been litigated. They have that power. Over time, we might see the administrative agencies get a little bit weaker, but yeah, what they put out a rule, like hours of service stuff, like that's a law. You have to follow it, whether you want to or not. They're still going to be there.
But who wrote that law for the hours of service? Who wrote it?
Well, the FMCSA, so the federal agency that creates these things.
No, but where did that have to get passed before? Like, the FMCSA doesn't, like, it has to go to Congress, right?
So no, Congress will say, we're going to make an agency. We're going to create a thing, and that agency will make its own rules, and we'll give it power to do those rules.
Okay.
So the idea is, like, the Congress delegates their authority to an administrative agency. The agency then makes a rule, and they go out and put it out there. And then businesses will say, we think you've overstepped your bounds. And then you have litigation where they see, did they have the authority or did they not have the authority? But most of the time, the last 100 years, they have the authority, just because of how our government has been so eager to give up their power to other unelected bureaucrats.
Kind of like its citizens are. Anyways, again, like, I just want to point a lot of this stuff out there, you guys, because, like, when you read a lot of these articles, and I'm doing this because Matt is an attorney by, would you say you're an attorney by default at this point? Because, like
I have all of the paperwork, like, it's all there. Like, I'm a fully licensed and insured attorney.
And you know, again, Matt and I don't always see eye to eye on everything, but I know Matt has a lot of knowledge of how a lot of this stuff goes. And a lot of the articles that are put out there, you guys don't always tell the whole story. They make it seem a certain type of way. And then when you do a little bit below surface level research, you realize that, holy shit, the people who are saying that they can do all this stuff actually don't have any power to do fucking anything. So again, anyways, back to, because like with the whole non-compete, non-solicit, like, thing that I was talking about, I like what we were talking about, excuse me. I think non-competes are inevitably going to go away on its own, because I truly feel like they're a weightless document. in most state levels that are out there. I think that the real kicker, because I think Jeff brought this up, Jeff Dickinson said non-solicit. I think non-solicits are the real kicker that are out there. And, again, my personal opinions are, if you're an equity holder in a business where not like, hey, we're giving you shares. I mean, like, I own my companies, right? Like, there's a big difference between having non-compete, non-solicit at that level than somebody who's fresh out of college. And I think, like, that's where a lot of this kind of stems from, is it's like, why are you making a 22-year-old kid who's fresh out of college, why are you binding them to that agreement? And then there's people out there that bang the whole, we don't have any non-competes, but they have a fucking non-solicit that is 10 times more strict than any non-compete that's out there.
I mean, these things are all the same kind of, like, I'll just, for the audience, like, so they can understand these things. This is a type of animal called a post-employment restrictive covenant. It's after you leave, a contract that binds you for certain activities. And the examples are the non-compete, the non-solicit, the non-disparagement. So don't talk bad about me. There's a whole bunch of, like, these things that follow you. And they're a fairly recent kind of innovation in the labor landscape. And non-solicits, their entire purpose is to stop you from poaching your former coworkers or from poaching your former customers. They need to be reasonable for time duration and all of this, but non-solicits don't stop you from doing your job. Like, if you're a freight broker and you have a non-solicit, you can go make your own freight brokerage company. You just can't go calling on your former people. If those people call you and you have documentation to prove that, you're fine. You're okay. Non-competes keep you out of the industry completely. And then you have to sit around and wait, or you get threatened with litigation. And trust me, they are enforceable. I know that they're enforceable. I've seen them enforced. So it's important just to know what you're signing and take time to negotiate the things that come in front of you.
Yeah, I think that's very well. And then also, don't fucking post all over the internet. That's a great fucking start. Do not self-incriminate. I'm going to start there with, first and foremost, don't fucking self-incriminate.
Yeah,
right?
let me build off that point. Like, if I'm a lawyer for the company and you've gone somewhere and I think you're doing something nefarious, what can I do to you? Well, I can get an injunction pretty easily by showing the court the contract that you signed. And then I can start subpoenaing your social media. I can get all your phone records, all your social media records, all your cell phone records. And you might say, Matt, that sounds awful. And you know what the answer is? Yeah, it is. I'm going to find out if you solicited my people. And if you have, I will make it very painful for you. And if I win, you pay for my fees. You pay my attorney bill. So it's really important to know what you're getting into and what the actual things can happen.
Don't hit send. That's all I'm going to say.
Don't go to Reddit and say, I'm thinking about violating my non-solicitation agreement. Can I get some advice? Don't do that.
All this stuff. And again, it's just like, what I would do differently, right? Like, because again, I'm not saying that I'm, all that smarter, but I'm a little bit wiser. I got a little bit more life experience under my belt. And consulting with an attorney is the best thing you can do in a lot of situations. And I would say this, if you're ever sitting down with a company and they don't allow you to have your legal representation review that document, I wouldn't take that job if it was the only. I would rather work 2 jobs fucking slinging fast food burgers than put up with that, because that company doesn't have your best interest in mind. Now, not everywhere, but I think, like, at the end of the day, people put contracts in front of others all the time. Some could view it as fair, not fair, whatever. But if they don't even allow you or suggest that you take it to an attorney, I think that's red flag number one. Those employment contracts, taking them out of the building and going somewhere with them. That's another massive red flag. Because I know a lot of people are like, hey, we're excited. Sign this fucking document.
Yeah, let me give you an example of this. So in Illinois, so I'm an Illinois licensed attorney. In Illinois, if you want to present a prospective employee with a non-solicit or a non-compete, you have to give them legally 14 days to review. You must also tell them you should get a lawyer. If those 2 things aren't met, that non-compete or that non-solicit is going to likely be unenforceable. So to your point, Chris, like, these laws change state by state. Non-competes generally have to do with state law, not with feds, not with any of this other nonsense. Yeah. And some states have moved towards having more non-competes. Some moved away having less non-competes. But the reality is you should always take time. And the thing you can always ask, as a negotiator who's been trained to do this stuff, say, I need to take it home. I want to review it. I need time to look at it. And then you should get a lawyer if you can. Most lawyers, they're very busy, but you can look at a non-compete or non-solicit in like an hour. It's very affordable thing to do.
I just think that no matter what, it's just like you should want to do that. You should suggest that. And for me, as a business owner, anybody who would go into a contract with me, I will always tell them, take this contract and review it with an attorney and then come back because again, like I don't want to, like, there's too many people out there that don't, like, I don't know, they don't put the best interests of their people at heart. And I want to see a lot of that change. I can successfully say that any of my organizations that will always be on the table of any employment contract, because again, businesses have to protect themselves. I'm not going to sit here and say that they don't. Businesses need to protect themselves because there's a lot of expensive shit that goes on behind the scenes. But again, if you are ever in a position with a company and they don't allow you to bring that documentation to have somebody else review it, walk away. Straight up.
Michael's got a great point here in the chat saying that in California, most non-competes are unenforceable. And that's true. It's also worth noting that most people don't even understand what a non-compete is. So about, again, 20% of people in California have non-competes. Like they've signed them and the employer knows or should know it's not enforceable. But if you can just convince somebody that maybe it is, you're not going to compete. And that's the whole point. How can I starve my competitors from talent? And that's one of the nefarious things that non-competes do. So I'm a big believer. If you see a non-compete, don't sign it. Just walk away. You can find a better job. There's better things to do.
I like that word nefarious. You've used it a few times here. I'm just kidding. But dude, that's going to be it for today. We got we're over on time. It is what it is. It's my show.
It's your show though. You can go as long as you want.
I can, but I try and be I got freight to move, dude. Actually.
That's right. You got a full-time gig, man. Well, I have twins. They're 8 months old now. It's great to be back, and hopefully we'll be back on soon.
We'll have you again on soon. But that's going to be it for today, you guys. Matt, we'll be back on soon. We'll have a guest on tomorrow. As always, you guys, if you guys got value in this, subscribe and share this show. Rank the show on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, you name it, wherever you guys, because if you see value, your network's going to see value in it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.